Hi, it's Sarah here from Thriving Solo, and today we're going to talk about that moment. If you've been in practice for any length of time, I'm sure you'll have had it, that when one session runs a bit heavy, your next client walks in, and your brain is still stuck with that last client. You don't need to have a perfect morning routine, but you need a tiny reset that you can actually do between appointments to help you just handle that. And we're going to use a simple 5 minute process to stop the spiral, to protect your energy and to show up steady. Because the danger is that if we can't get hold of ourselves in that first sort of session where things are starting to go a little bit out of our control, then it's just going to carry on and build throughout the day. And we want to avoid that happening, obviously. Now, in our last video, I introduced the practitioner mindset to you and how it underpins all the other work that we do. I talked about the ladder rungs of mindset being identity, beliefs, and habits. So today I'm going to give you a mini mindset shift that you can build into a daily habit. When you're solo, there's a risk that you don't get a buffer. You're the clinician, but you're also the admin, the receptionist, and the emotional sponge. Yes, great. You're having to listen to all your clients' problems when you've got plenty, probably, of your own as well. A reset isn't self-care fluff, it's basic practice hygiene, like washing your hands, but for your nervous system. And that's why this is really important. It's the mindset reset that I'm going to give you today is for the messy middle of the day, not just that fantasy version where you've got half an hour to spare and a green juice to help reset you. This is for when you don't have much time between sessions. So why might you spiral between sessions? What actually causes that? Well, a good part of the problem is that your brain keeps unfinished loops open. So if you've got notes that aren't done, if you've got a plan that's not very clear, emotion that's still sitting there from the last client, those are all unfinished loops that your brain is trying to process and deal with while you're already setting off on the next part of what needs to be done for today. It can be because you switch tasks fast, from clinical brain to admin brain to people brain, and your body hates that switching so quickly. Your body holds that last session. Most of us are involved in some form of body work, so you know what that feels like for your clients, and you may be ignoring it in your own body. But it's that shoulders up, and I'm continuously doing this myself, shallow breath, jaw tight, even when you're forcing yourself to look calm and smile, you've still got that tightness in that upper body. Your space carries cues. So if you're surrounded by used linen, a cluttered trolley, half open tabs on your worktop, on your laptop, you know, you feel behind even before you start with all of those things. And the result is that you rush, you forget small things, and everything feels louder than it should. It feels more rushed than it should. So why does a tiny reset matter? Well, the frazzle rarely shows up all at once. It creeps in through constant micro stress. And when you move from session to session without pause, your nervous system doesn't get a chance to recalibrate. It doesn't just affect you. Clients pick up on your energy, especially if you work in a hands-on, high-trust modality, as no doubt we all do. Even a short reset can regulate your nervous system, improve your presence and listening ability, boost client trust and retention, and model exactly what your clients should be doing between sessions as well. So what does a 5-minute reset actually need to do? It needs to close that last session so that it stops pulling at you. It needs to clear your body so that you're not carrying the client into the next session. You need to set one clear intention for the next client so that you walk in there with a plan and it sets your brain in the right direction. And you want to create a visible start line, if you were, in the space so that your brain believes that the reset has happened. So I'm going to talk you through a 5-minute reset protocol. Step 1, which should take no more than 60 seconds when we get it down pat. It might take a tiny bit longer the first few times you go through it, but it will be 60 seconds as we get things put in place as habits. You're going to finish the minimum notes. Write only what future you needs to be safe and consistent. Use a repeatable structure. For example, what the main issue was, what you did, what the response was, what the planned next step is. A template here helps. I used to use a notebook in my session and just scribble down. I'd have some notes beforehand, I'd make some notes during the session, and then I'd just finish up those notes so that I could come back and transfer that to my IT system when I'd got that planned session. I actually used to build that in straight after the previous client so that I could get everything done in one space, but that's up to you. If you're behind, then at least write a placeholder note, something that you can trust. For example, that the needle set was same as last, good response, and then flag it to finish later. Don't reread the whole chart unless you absolutely have to. This isn't the time for that. So that's the first sort of step, 60 seconds. Next, step 2, 30 seconds. We're going to close the loop. So you want to stand still for one breath, then name the session in one short line. So, for example, low back pain, anxious, needs follow-up plan. That's all it needs to be. Just write the next action in one sentence. For example, email exercises link after lunch. If you can't do it now, schedule it, then stop thinking about it. Like I say, this actually can be done as part of that template if you get things set up right ahead of time. Step 3, 60 seconds. Again, this time, we're going to clear the room cues. So strip linen, clean the treatment surface, whatever your process is. Do a 10-second tidy of hot spots, trolley top, the chair, the floor near the door, whatever it needs to be, and change one sensory cue. This is one of those things that helps your brain let go and move on to the next. So it might be open the window, it could be close the window, depending on where that was. You might want to use a spray if you've got something that you and your clients can tolerate. So something that is a smell cue. It could be that you make the lights slightly lighter or darker. Change the music. Something, like I say, that is a sensory cue that you have finished with one client and we're moving on to the next. So step 4 is another 60 second. We're going to reset your body, not your personality, just your body. So drop your shoulders on purpose, and yes, you have to tell them. Do 3 slow breaths, longer exhale than inhale. Unclench your jaw, Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth and then let your face soften. Just let go. Have a drink of water. How many times do we forget to hydrate? If you're feeling a bit buzzy or teary after the last client, then do a quick shake out of hands and arms. Just let that tension release. Put your hands on one stable surface for a beat. Could be the counter, could be a chair, just to signal the new start for your body. Now we move on to step 5. 30 seconds, that's all it is, and we're going to create a boundary phrase that we say out loud quietly. So just use a short phrase that marks the switch. It could be, that session is complete, next client now. If the last client was heavy, then you might want to add something like, I can care without carrying. Find something that resonates for you. It could be, if you're running late, you might want to add, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Just to remind yourself that in actual fact, slowing down will help you go faster in the long run, because when you're racing to try and catch up, you make mistakes that cost you more time. So, like I say, we find a boundary phrase that works for you. And then step 6, 30 seconds again, a 1-sentence plan for the next client. So look at the next booking and say one clear goal. For example, today's assessment and first plan, or today's a progress check and adjust. Pick one thing out that you want to remember. Maybe ask about sleep. Maybe check in with them about how their goal for recovery is going. And decide how you want to feel in the room. Steady and unhurried. Figure it out and say it out loud. And that just creates, like I say, a plan for the next client. Now, what happens if you don't have 5 minutes? I know, that sounds all well and good, but I don't even have 5 minutes. It's properly behind. So a quick version of this, a 90-second reset. Write one action for the last client. Take 3 long exhales. Clear one surface and the doorway area. And read the next client's name and goal and then welcome them in. And if it's really so bad that you've got somebody already at the door waiting for you, then the 30-second reset is let them know that you'll be right with them. Then feel both feet on the floor. Exhale longer than you inhale twice. Relax your face and shoulders. Touch the door handle and think, new session, and then open the door. So a few common mistakes that can make you feel worse, so please try and avoid these. You try to process the whole session instead of just closing the loop. Just focus on those few areas that I said to close the loop. You scroll your phone for a bit of relief, but then you come back even more scattered. You skip water and wonder why your brain feels like soup. We really do need to keep ourselves hydrated. How many times are you telling your clients to keep hydrated? You use the reset to cram admin, and then you walk into the next session even further behind. You aim for perfect notes every time, and then you fall even further behind again and feel guilty all day. So let's work beyond this. Let's make this new habit stick without making it too heavy. So the ways to do this are tie this reset to something that you already do, such as hand washing, changing linen, or closing a chart. Keep a tiny checklist, and I'll add a checklist for you to be able to use where you can see it inside a cupboard door, on your laptop, on the trolley, and pick one reset anchor that you always do, even on busy days. So even if you can't keep the full 5 minute reset in play, pick some reset anchor. It might be the 3 breaths, it might be clear one surface, it might be a 1 sentence plan, but pick one. And decide what your minimum standard is now when you're feeling calm about it, not when you're stressed. You know, what are the minimum notes, the minimum tidy, the minimum breath? So to close this one today, remember that your brain needs to close the loop. To do that, you need a repeatable reset that protects your focus. I recommend trying this for 3 days in a row and then notice what has changed. Your pace, your mood, your notes, your patience. Comment below, please, if you are committed to trying this. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how this helps. And feel free to give a version of this mini reset to your clients for them to use. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll be back again with more tips soon.